President Obama, First Lady Michelle, Governor Abercrombie, Vermont Senator Patrick Leahy, now the President Pro Tem of the Senate, the most senior member of the Senate following the death of Danny, members of Congress, friends all. It was just a few days ago. I spent a full hour with Senator Inouye in his office, just the two of us. We talked as if there were many tomorrows. There wouldn't be any tomorrows. The next day he was taken to the hospital, surprised us all. We talked as if there were lots of tomorrows. But I repeat, there wouldn't be. He nor I had no inkling that in 8 days he would be gone. Our visit wasn't our first, but it would be our last. Oh, in reflection, do I cherish that hour? Just the two of us. We were serious some of the time. We laughed. We discussed our youths. We discussed our service in the Senate. I, as always, when we were alone, asked him to talk about the war. Alone, he was willing to share. Publicly, he wasn't. Memories are made of this. Memories are really made of moments like this. And like this. Last Thursday, I received a phone call that Senator Dole had asked if I would walk over to the rotunda with him and allow him to give his last respects to Senator Inouye. This tall man, well over 6 foot, Bob Dole, is now in a wheelchair most of the time. He and Senator Inouye were soldiers, both grievously wounded, a hill apart, a week apart, in the mountains of Italy. Both were right-handed. Both, as a result of that war, lost the use of their right arms. They spent 21 months together at an Army hospital in Michigan. One from Kansas, one from Hawaii, became friends. They were there learning to live again. As we proceeded toward the rotunda, there was a little alcove just before you get to the rotunda, and Senator Dole wanted to be taken into that alcove, and I went there with him. He looked up and said, "Danny's not going to see me in a wheelchair." And this man got up out of his wheelchair, and even though he needed a little assistance, he walked. And it wasn't a short distance. He walked to that catafalque, that same one upon which the casket of Abraham Lincoln stood. And he wasn't satisfied just to be there. He wanted up on that platform so he could reach his friend of 60 years, Dan Inouye. And he got up there. It was a little struggle, but he got up there. And soldier to soldier, with his left hand, he saluted his soldier friend of 60 years. There wasn't a dry eye, any place in that facility. It's a moment I will never forget. As the tragic events of recent days remind us, often when death visits, it comes too soon. There may be a plane crash. A parent is taken from us in unusual circumstances. Cancer deprives us of a sibling or a friend. A baby drowns in a swimming pool. An automobile accident steals away someone else. Lives are cut short. Dreams are denied. Often death is troubling. And we ask, why? Why him? Why her? Why now? And although I wish I could answer those questions with authority, I cannot. But often the why of death is a mystery. But in the case of Senator Daniel Inouye, there is no mystery. And although there is sadness, there is no regret. In the Old Testament, the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 2, tells us, to everything there is a season, a time to every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die. You see, this was Daniel Inouye's time. He lived a full and productive life. He was 88 years old, and he lived each of those 88 years to its fullest. He was a war hero, a decorated soldier who left the innocence of youth and most of his right arm in an Italian battlefield, where he defended our nation's freedom, even as that nation questioned the loyalty of patriots who looked like him. He was a healing hero, an example of the resilience of the human body and the human spirit, whose resolve to live a life of service was hardened, not broken, by those many, many months spent recovering from wounds in an Army hospital in Michigan. He was really a legislative hero. To that I can testify. A progressive Democrat who would never hesitate to collaborate with a Republican colleague for the good of the country. He was also a Hawaiian hero, a champion of this state, its people, and its natural beauty. His dedication to building a better Hawaii was unquestionable. Senator Inouye was often asked by children, especially as he got older, how long it takes to become a good senator. This is what he said. You can do it in 2 years. It depends on what you mean by good. There are some who feel that being good is giving good speeches. But if you're talking about making certain the people, your constituents, get what they are entitled to and deserve that, well, that's another story. Well, by that measure and any other, Danny was the best senator among us all. The prestige built up over 5 decades in Congress paid dividends for the people of Hawaii and ensured they got all they deserved and everything to which they were entitled. Over the course of his Senate career, Danny steered billions of dollars to Hawaii. That wasn't a mistake. Billions of dollars to Hawaii to improve infrastructure, schools, military bases, and to protect and restore Hawaii's natural beauty. As chairman of the Senate Appropriations Committee, he was in a unique position to ensure the islands he loved so much were not forgotten in the national discussion. But it wasn't only the people of Hawaii who turned to Dan Inouye for support. His nation and his Senate colleagues also relied on him. Whenever there was a difficult job to do, whether it was defending a senator charged with doing something unethically, or whether, it didn't matter what it was, whenever we needed a noble man to lean on, we turned to Senator Dan Inouye. He was fearless. Dan once said, "My biggest challenge is to convince myself that on this day I did my best." I can't think of a single day during the 30 years that I've known Senator Inouye that he didn't give his best or do everything he could. So it should come as no surprise that Danny died as he lived, with great dignity. Minutes before he passed, he shook the hands of friends and caressed family who surrounded him. He thanked the doctors and the nurses for their care and their attention. He thanked his security detail for their careful protection over the years. He wrote notes, not one, he wrote notes detailing his last wishes, working until mere moments before he passed. He told his wife, lovely Irene, that he would appreciate my speaking before you today, a gesture that touched my heart more than words can express. Then he said aloha, and he quietly joined the Lord. He faced death many times, especially during that awful war. He would often tell us that he had been lucky his whole life. But I don't believe that Dan was lucky at all. Dan Inouye was a blessed man. He had work to do here among us, and he stayed until that work was done. The 24th Psalm asks, "Who may ascend to the mountain of the Lord? Who may stand in his holy place?" And it answers by saying, "The one who has clean hands and a pure heart." That's Daniel Inouye, a man pure of heart, clean of hand. During his 1968 speech before Chicago's Democratic National Convention, he taught the nation, taught all of us, that aloha doesn't just mean hello, and it doesn't just mean goodbye. It means I love you. Aloha was Dan's last word on earth. So I say to my friend in return, Danny, aloha, I love you, and so long until we meet again.